Привет из Дубая. С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about sketching and let's start with the definition.
Sometime when you describe to someone or even to yourself the idea, it's the best way not to use the words, but to draw it on the paper. And there is an art or this is a discipline or skill which is called sketching, is to make a very easy, very small pictures to help other people understand what you're talking about. For example, I will explain you how any kind of machine work, or maybe how we'll put our billboard on the hill, or maybe how we'll serve our client. This is a good way to use sketching. By the way, when we conduct skills in School of Troubleshooters, like Agile, like Scrum or Sprint, we often use sketching to understand and to show to everyone our goals, our objectives, and our advanced results.
Even though sketching sounds like a very easy, and especially like when we would Google for sketches or try to do something by ourselves, it seems very straightforward, very, I would say, sketchy, if I can use it as those tautology. But like, what might be the main components or the blocks in order to efficiently deliver such visualized message?
Let me explain. In several days, there would be a second article about polyglottism. Is it okay to say polyglottism?
Polyglottism is good.
Polyglottism. We have a friend of us, this is Ekaterina Vasilyeva, who learned how to speak on foreign languages, and she usually use some cards. For example, there is a very good sketch. She will draw on small paper a swan. Swan, it's лебедь по-русски. And if I know лебедь, I do not know swan. But suddenly she will write a very small picture of, I don't know how to make it, колокольчик,
Bell, ring bell.
ring bell, and she will pronounce, this is звон. Звон, it's ringing. So swan, звон. And you have almost the same word and you will remember it. Or for example, you don't know how to remember parsley. Parsley, it's a kind of green. And she will wrote something like passport and will show that par, this is part of this word, and sli something else. So how to remember dust? This is name of Russian writer Dostoevsky. Dust, Dostoevsky. So it's easy to use. So sketching is quite usually quite commonly used. For example, when you make associations with foreign words.
And maybe we speak about like slightly different thing, but like what kind of tools we might be using for sketching. Sometimes I do believe it just might be like a napkin or a good pencil, but sometimes it might be like a stickers if you want to, like use a bit of like a color coding or highlight specific areas. Or as I remember, at the skill of the sprint, you said that it's also good to use the pencils because they actually can write faster and you still can, like rearrange them. So what might be the approach when it comes to the choose of the tools?
There could be several ways. First, for example, when we learn in School of Troubleshooting, we usually use Paint, and I just draw with mouse some axes and some lines. When, for example, we make Agile, Scrum, or Sprint, I usually ask to use pencils. The one more reason when you will use your pen, it would be understandable that it was done by you. But if you will use a rare instrument, like, for example, I don't know how to say, plain pencil, простой карандаш,
Yeah, just normal pencil.
normal pencil, no one will understand that it was made by Maxim, Golub, or someone else. By the way, to be honest, maybe this question should be addressed even to you because you have wrote already several brilliant articles with completely sketching pictures made by your hand, and I love them a lot.
Well, I do believe sometimes it's good to, like just like try to dump whatever I have in thoughts on the paper. And when it also comes to, like not only draw one picture, but like show some sort of like dynamics. So how you should approach to this? Do you need to draw immediately whatever you have in mind, or you need to do a bit of like a strategizing so that you don't need to redraw, you don't need to use your, let's say, hands or gestures or anything else to explain, but only your drawing tool and the surface?
You know, when you work with a grown-up person, you will find that usually those people who used to do the same job, they makes it very well. For example, if you have a basketball player and if he will show how to push in the basket this ball, you will believe that he could do this. If you will see someone is drawing on the napkins, by the way, never in my life I have been drawing on the napkins or conduct elevator speech. Everyone is talking about this, but I have never seen and even hear about this. So that's maybe like fairy tales from Infogurus. But if you are unable to understand, you will wrote and you will draw in the manner you could explain. You know, I couldn't be comparing to you. You make a complete drawing which everyone could believe it was made by an artist. But when I draw, everything is very ugly, but it's quite enough to understand.
And when it comes to sketching, but like more about like dumping your thoughts on the paper. So sometimes it also could be called doodling if you don't really know what exactly you want. But when it comes to, let's say, something that you also share, that sometimes you might be having a team of people within your head so that you just want to discuss something with them. So what kind of I would say techniques or maybe kind of thoughts you need to apply in order to put your thoughts on the paper and maybe discuss some stuff within you. Let's say you're doing a planning, you're doing a financing, or maybe just like a trying to entertain certain ideas that you may want to apply to your business.
There should be used several rules. First, never show your first sketch. Okay, if you're sitting on the table, if you are playing, if you are flying on the plane, I have no other options just to draw on the empty page what I am trying to explain. But if you are a boss, if you are a leader, you should write several times on the paper at your home or maybe on your whiteboard or maybe in your computer, and then present to all people not the already done picture, but a new one. You already know the proportions, you know how many pieces would be, how to connect them, and maybe how to color them. Second, if you make it alone, you should use as slow motion as it possible. When you make the drawing very slow, you have enough time to think about, do you believe in this proportions, in this connections, in this отношениях,
Relationship.
relations, and so on. And third, when you make drawing, you should use a very confident lines, because some people have great ideas, but they are not brave, and their sketching also not brave. You should use it like a very hard nail to draw something on the wood. In this case, everyone will believe. If you dare to draw, people will think that maybe you're not sure.
And sometimes we also might be using, especially given the development of the technology, I see people using iPads, or there is like a couple of tools that I've seen using E-Link or like any other devices. Whether it still should, the preference should be, like with something which is the analog, or we, like should go with the flow and try some more advanced stuff.
You know, I do not like this stuff which has battery. If you have pencil, if you have something, you could draw anytime. But if you have lack of the battery, if you have no Wi-Fi, maybe you would be stuck and you'll say, if I have something, I will do this. So it's better not to use it. You know, it was a quite funny situation. I have been watching talking of Nassim Taleb. He was a writer who wrote this anti-fragile book, and he was conducting a lecture in Skolkovo, and I was invited, and suddenly it was a blackout, and there is no slide on the wall, and the microphone was not working, and suddenly Taleb told to everyone, come on guys, let's wait until it will be switched on. I have no clue how to continue. And I was thinking, you son of a bitch, you make this book about fragility, and now you are talking to us that you couldn't work in this situation. So if you want to be a real man or real woman, you should use any tools which is closer to you than to have some explanation why you couldn't make this right now.
And while we're speaking about reality, I do believe sometimes it's also might be good to do the mindless sketching. Let's say, like you might be thinking about something completely different, and then you also could put some sort of like illustrations, or vice versa. I remember in this movie, in the 17 Moments of the Spring, the main character, he actually was, like when he was giving a task, he was painting the characters that he would need to work with. So how we might be connecting our thinking process when we think about something related or something is not related and the sketching itself.
When you have time to think something about, you thinking in your mind and you couldn't understand what you don't understand. It is like a hidden treasure. But if you will try to undump everything on the paper and you will make line by the line, suddenly you will realize that you forgot something. This is my lovely exercises on a small group which contain girls and boys. I usually give to the crowd task to make a sketch of a bicycle. And there is a reason in pictures in girls made and boys made.
Probably pedals, if I'm not mistaken.
Usually girls forget to draw a chain, so they draw everything in except of chain. So this is a very good example to show that if you put everything on the paper, you should understand and you could understand what you have forgot. For example, the same when you program. If you are a good programmer, you will describe all the variables and you will put all constants at the top of the program, and then you will just use them. But if sometime you will forget to announce variables, you will go back and you will write it down. And as many back moves you're doing, this will show you how you bad in programming. The same with your sketching. If suddenly you will erase some part of it, or if you will be not enough place, for example, on the top, on the right, when you're drawing, and you will say, oh, come on, I will redraw. It will show everyone that you are not well prepared. That's not about the way how you think. That's just about your preparation.
And my last question will be how knowing about sketching could help make this world a better place.
It was a very funny situation. When I was entering Kyiv Polytechnical Institute, I came to the room, I was assigned, and suddenly I saw there some guy with skin of, I don't know, brown skin, and I was very afraid. He was from Sri Lanka, and I don't know how to start to conversation because we live in the same room, but how we will divide the space, how we will put the tables and so on. And suddenly I realized I remember the short story about aliens, and there was advice: if you want to attract aliens and to show that you are a smart one, you should cut the woods in the Siberia in form of Pythagore theorem. So I draw this theorem on the paper, and suddenly this guy was trying to go more. So I draw just this triangle, this formula, and then we go to square roots and so on. And in 5 minutes, we were talking just on math subjects. And this was trying to establish connection with sketching, with theorem of Pythagore.
А мы рассмотрели навык скетчинг и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!